Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we have a tutorial. I haven't done a tutorial in a long time, so this is really exciting. I love doing tutorials, so yeah, I'm glad to be back doing one. But anyway, so what we're making today is a crochet hair bow. Please ignore my eye as well. I don't know what's happening with it. So I kept seeing this damson madder bow pop up on Pinterest and like Instagram, and I thought I can figure out how to make that myself. So after a bit of research, I realized the stitch is called a granny stitch. So it's really simple to do. This probably took me about 2 to 3 hours. Like, it's really simple. I used scrap yarn, so I didn't buy any more yarn, and yeah, this is the result. So what you'll need, I'll pop it all in the description as well, is some scrap yarn. You could probably use between a 3.5 and a 4mm needle. And then I bought a little hair clip, hair fastening thing. You can probably get these at a lot of craft stores, but I couldn't find one on its own, so I bought a cheap bow and then just ripped it off and popped it on there. So even if you've got a old bow or hair fastening at home and you don't wear it anymore, then you can just take off the clasp and use it for that. And then you just need some scissors. So yeah, really simple to make. Probably could do it on like a Saturday afternoon, and yeah, really adorable to wear. So let's get on with the tutorial. So I've got two colours here. If you want to use the same colour, that's fine, but the two colours together do give it this really interesting look. I would recommend a yarn probably around this size. I mean, unless you want to do it chunky or super fine, then that's fine. So yeah, you've got your two yarns. I'm just using a 3.5mm needle. So I'm going to take my first colour. So in order to make the bow, you're basically creating a really long strip. So this is just my little sample piece. So this is about 22 clusters. So I want to make 80 clusters, so it'll be 4 times longer than that. Yeah, you know what I mean. So we're going to start with chaining 192. I try not to do this part too tight, so make sure you've got a bit of looseness on your tension. So once you've finished your very long chain, we're now going to start the next row. So you're going to go into the second chain from the hook and just do a single crochet. You're going to chain one. You're going to skip the next chain, single crochet into the next one, chain one, skip the next one, single crochet, chain one, skip the next one, single crochet, chain one, and you're just going to repeat this all the way down. So skip the next one, single crochet, chain one. So I'm going to do this all the way down the row. So I'm just on my last stitch, so I've chained, I'm missing this one, and then I'm going to the end one. And I'm not going to complete this single crochet. I'm going to leave it like that, and then I'm going to add my next colour. And I'm just going to hook that on and pull it through to complete that single crochet. And then got a lot of ends here, but I'm going to chain 3 and turn my work. So now we're going to do the next row, and this is where we do the clusters. And you can see these little gaps, these spaces along Can be a bit fiddly depending on your yarn size, but yeah, they're there. And I'm just gonna pull this tail yarn that we use for the first row along with me, so it's with me when I reach the end and I don't have to keep cutting my yarn. And then there's loads of tails. So we're going to find that first gap there, and we're going to do, I'm just going to hold that above it. I'm going to do 3 double crochets, but we're not completing each double crochet like normal, so we'll do 1, keep it like that, do a next like that, and then 1 more, and then you've got 4 loops on your hook, and then you're going to pull through all 4. You're going to chain 1, making sure this tail yarn is still here. Find the next gap. So I'm just editing and I realised that the camera's really struggling to pick up where these little spaces are. So I've just quickly crocheted this with a bit more high contrast colours, just so you can visualise it a bit better. So these gaps, I don't know if you can see these little V's here. These gaps, these spaces where you have to do your clusters are just here, here, be here, here, here and here. So you're just going to fill your clusters in there, in between those little spaces. Yeah, it's really fiddly for the first row, but once you start doing the next rows, it gets less fiddly. Just gonna do that all the way till I get to the end of the row. So just finished that very long row of clusters, and once I get to the end I've just done a chain 1, and then I'm just gonna do 1 double crochet at the end. And then I'm going to attach my yarn that I was feeding through. Chain 1 and start the next row. So now we're just going to repeat those 2 rows 5 more times, so we've got 6 rows of clusters. So I'll just go through each row again, and then I'll just finish up off camera. So this first row is the row of single crochets, so it's easier to see these gaps. So I'm going to do a single crochet in that gap. Again, I'm going to feed this yarn with me. Single crochet, chain 1, then go to the next gap, single crochet, chain 1, the next. Make sure your tension isn't too tight, and then I'm just going to do that all the way till the end, and then we'll add on other colour. Just finished that 3rd row and I'm just at the end, so I'm just going to do a single crochet but not complete it, and then grab our second colour and pull it through. Chain 3, turn your work, And now we can start the next row. So this is the row of clusters again, and it's a bit easier to see the gaps this time where we'll put the clusters. So it's there. So once you get past this V shape, that's the gap. So just in those spaces. So go into this first gap. In this first gap, I'm just going to do 2 clusters because I'm going to count the chain 3 as one. So I've done that one. And I just chained 1, and then I'll go into the next space. So you can see this sort of nice pattern forming. So I'm just gonna keep going with that, and then I'm gonna repeat until I've got 6 rows of clusters, and then I'll get back to you. So I decided to do 4 rows. I just felt like this was thick enough for me, but if you want to do 6 rows, then you can keep going. But anyway, I've finished with this bit, this section. Ignore these bits as we will tuck them in later on. So we're going to make the there's like a row of single crochet all the way around and across the bottom. So I'm going to do it in the darker pink that I'm using. So I'm just going to place my hook in this first stitch here, and then pick up that same colour. Each bump will be a single crochet. Can be a bit fiddly. So yeah, I'll just do that all the way around the whole piece. Sorry, I'm just outside doing these side bits. I just wanted to show that along these edges where there's not like proper stitches to pick up, you'll just have to sort of find your way along, picking up as you go, making sure not to pick up too many or too little. So you probably get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can sort of guess as you go. And now we're going to create the middle bit that holds the bow and like creates that bow shape. So you're going to lay your piece out like this, and then we're sort of going to like scrunch it in like that, and now we're just going to crochet a small piece to like wrap around and secure that. So this is really simple. You can do single crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, whatever stitch you want. It's just like a little strip to sort of cover this mess right here. So I'm just going to go with my darker colour that I used. So I'm going to chain 8. If you want to make your little strip a bit wider or a bit thinner, then do more stitches, more chains or less chains. I think between 6 and sort of 10 is probably a good amount. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'm going to chain 2 to start my first double crochet, and then go in from to the 3rd chain from the hook, and then just start my double crochets. All the way down the row. And then I'm going to chain 2, turn, and then continue doing double crochets all the way down. So I just did 10 rows of that stitch, and now I'm gonna lay it on top. So you want to make sure it's quite tight so nothing comes undone, but also if you wanted to, before that, you could sort of go through this with some yarn to just secure it, and I might do that before. So you want to make sure it's the correct shape before you do this. So I'm just gonna, quite roughly, because it will be hidden, I'm gonna go up and down the few stitches. This is just for peace of mind, I know it shouldn't come undone. You can pull that tight, tie it off. And I'm just going to cut a long tail of this and fasten that off. Wrap it over, and then at the back is where you're gonna secure it. So now I'm just taking that long tail and my needle. I'm just gonna go in and out of each of those sides and secure that. Make sure you're keeping it nice and tight as you go along. You can go back and forth a few times, which I might do. So I might just tie this bit here to make it secure. And then I'll just weave this bit in and out, but this bit I'll just go back and forth again. And then I'm just going to do a knot. So I'll just pull that through. And then I'm just going to hide my yarn. And this bit will be covered anyway because you're going to put a fastener on there. So once you've secured your middle bit on, that is your final bow. You can leave it like this if you just want to use it for something else, but we're going to pop on a hair fascinator here. So now to finish this off, you're just going to take a hair clasp. So this is just off of a bow, so I just took it off. So to do this, you can glue it on, so you can just get some super glue and then glue that on. But I realised it's actually easier to just actually put this under here, and then I don't have to do any gluing. So yeah, there's your final bow. So here is the final result of the bow. Slightly different to the Damson Madder one because they've got like little tendrils coming off, but I wanted to keep it quite simple. So yeah, I think it's really nice, and I'll probably be making them in a lot more colours.